Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 588, The City Shadow, Upper Beginner. Arthur Finch loved his work. He was an art restorer in a big, important museum in London. His job was to fix old things and make them beautiful again. But one Tuesday, his work became a mystery. He was the last to leave the museum. The lights were off. The city outside was quiet. Arthur walked past the new exhibition. In a glass case was the Serpent's heart, a small, famous sculpture from the 16th century. It was made of dark metal and looked like a coiled snake. Arthur had just finished cleaning it. He smiled and went home. The next morning, the museum director called him. "Arthur, the serpent's heart is gone. The case is open but not broken. The only fingerprints are yours." Arthur's heart jumped. He felt sick. "But I didn't take it. I saw it there when I left." The police did not believe him. They questioned him for hours. Arthur felt like his life was ending. He had to find the real thief. He thought about the night before. What was different? He remembered a young security guard, a new one, named Davis. Davis had seemed very nervous. He kept looking at the clock on his wrist. Maybe he did it, Arthur thought. He decided to follow Davis. The next day he saw Davis leave the museum, get on a bus. Arthur followed him in a taxi. The bus went to a dark industrial part of the city. There were many big grey buildings. Davies walked to a small printing company and went inside. This is it, Arthur thought. He's selling the sculpture to someone here. Arthur went to the door. He listened. He heard voices, but they were not angry. They sounded sad. He saw Davies talking to a young woman. The woman was crying. Davies gave her a lot of money. "Don't worry," Davies said. "This is for the hospital bill. Your mother will be okay." Arthur felt bad. Davies was not a thief. He was just a worried son trying to help his family. Arthur went back to the museum. He felt lost. Who could it be? He thought again about every person he had seen. He then remembered a woman from the day before. She was a journalist. Her name was Clara. She was very friendly and asked many questions. One question was strange. She asked, "How much does the sculpture weigh exactly?" Arthur had found it an odd question. Most people ask about its history or its colour. He went to the security office. He looked at the video from the camera near the sculpture. He saw himself leave. Then, 10 minutes later, a cleaning woman came into the room. She was wearing a uniform like others, but it looked new. The camera blinked and the picture went away for just 5 seconds. When the picture returned, the sculpture was gone. The cleaning woman was walking away. Arthur looked closer at the uniform. The badge was different. It had the wrong letters. He thought about Clara, the journalist. The cleaning woman on the video had the same height and hair colour as Clara. She had used the camera blink to take the sculpture and leave. He suddenly understood the strange question. Clara didn't want the sculpture because of its beauty. She wanted it for its weight. The serpent's heart was hollow. A secret old story said a secret message was hidden inside. The museum thought it was just a legend. But Clara knew it was true. She needed the sculpture for what was inside. The theft wasn't about art at all. It was about a secret. Arthur called the police. He told them everything. They went to Clara's flat and found the empty sculpture. Inside they found a small metal box. The box had a very old key in it. Clara confessed. She was a spy, not a journalist. The key was a key to a safe with important government documents. Arthur's name was cleared. He was a hero. He looked at the glass case where the sculpture used to be. The mystery was over. The city's shadow, the hidden truth, was gone. Arthur could finally go back to his simple, quiet job. Vocabulary notes. Restorer, meaning a person whose job is to repair and clean old things like paintings or furniture so they look new again. Example, he was an art restorer in a big, important museum in London. Similar words, repairer, conservator, mender. Exhibition, meaning a public display of works of art or other items of interest, often in a museum. Example, Arthur walked past the new exhibition. Similar words, display, show, gallery. Jumped, as in my heart jumped. Meaning, this is an idiom. It means to feel a sudden shock or fear. Example, Arthur's heart jumped. He felt sick. Similar words, startled, shocked, surprised. Hollow, meaning empty on the inside. Example, the serpent's heart was hollow. Similar words, empty, vacant, not solid. Confessed, meaning to admit that you did something wrong or bad. Example, Clara confessed she was a spy, not a journalist. Similar words, admitted, revealed, told the truth. Cleared, meaning to prove that someone is not guilty of a crime or a mistake. Example, Arthur's name was cleared. He was a hero. Similar words, proven, innocent, exonerated, acquitted. Story written by Gemini Pro AI. Image created by Imagio AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're not just telling a story. We're going to step into the shoes of a detective and solve a mystery together. We'll follow the clues piece by piece to unravel a crime and uncover a secret that's been hiding in plain sight. Let's get into it. So, our story starts with this guy, Arthur Finch. He's an art restorer in a big, important museum. You know the type. His life is pretty quiet, it's orderly, and he really just loves his job, making old things beautiful again. Just picture him, maybe on a Tuesday evening, finishing up, surrounded by all this incredible silent history.
Yeah, that quiet life he loved, it's about to get completely blown to pieces. In literally one single night, everything Arthur thinks he knows is going to be thrown into total chaos.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the priceless sculpture that just disappears. Then we'll see how an innocent man gets framed for it. We'll follow a lead that goes nowhere, and then we'll find the one tiny detail that cracks the entire case open, revealing a spy, a key, and the real truth. And stick around because we'll explain some key vocabulary from the story at the end.
So everything revolves around this one piece. It's called the Serpent's Heart, a really famous 16th century sculpture. Looks like a coiled snake made of this dark, heavy metal. On this night, Arthur's the last person to leave the exhibition hall. He just finished cleaning it. He gives it a little smile, sees it safe in its glass case, and heads home for the night.
And just like that, the next morning, he gets this frantic call from the museum director. The glass case is open, but it's not smashed or anything. The sculpture has just vanished.
Well, the situation goes from bad to worse really fast, especially for Arthur. I mean, think about it. He was the last one there. He was the one working on the piece. And when the police start their investigation, they find something that points the finger directly at him. And this is the bombshell. The museum director tells him the devastating news. The only fingerprints on that glass case belong to Arthur Finch. So in an instant, he goes from being a witness to being the #1 suspect.
Now, Arthur knows he didn't do it, which means he's got to find the real thief to save his own skin. His mind is just racing. He thinks back, who else was around that night? And he remembers Davies, a new security guard who seemed super nervous, constantly looking at his watch. It's not much, but right now, it's the only lead he's got.
So, With his whole life on the line, Arthur decides he has to do his own investigating. He's pinning all his hopes on this one idea, that this nervous guard, Davies, is the key to proving his innocence.
So Arthur starts tailing him. He follows Davies all the way from the museum across the city to this kind of run-down industrial part of town. When Davies ducks into a little printing company, Arthur's sure this is it. This has to be the place where the sculpture is getting sold off. He sneaks up to the door, holds his breath, and listens, totally expecting to hear a criminal deal going down.
But what he hears? It's not a crime at all. It's an act of compassion. He hears Davies giving money to a woman who's crying, telling her it's for her mother's hospital bill and that she'll be okay. In that 1 second, Arthur's whole theory just crumbles. Davies isn't a thief. He's just a good son who's worried about his mom. It's a total dead end. And now Arthur's totally lost. His only suspect is innocent. He's back to square one. So he just starts rewinding everything in his head, going over every single detail from the day of the theft. And he realizes the answer wasn't some big, obvious clue. It was something small, something hidden right out in the open.
His mind is racing. What was it? What tiny, insignificant thing did everybody else overlook? He knows he has to find it, and he has to find it fast. And then it hits him. A journalist named Clara. She'd been asking questions the day before the theft. And while everyone else was asking about the art or its history, she asked this one really weird question. At the time, it just seemed a little odd. But now it feels absolutely critical. Why on earth would a journalist care about its exact weight?
So Arthur races back to look at the security tapes. He watches the footage. He sees himself leave. He sees a cleaner come into the room. And then he spots it. The camera feed just blinks. It goes dark for exactly 5 seconds. When the picture comes back, the sculpture is gone. The entire crime happened in that tiny 5-second window. And this is the final piece of the puzzle. It's brilliant. Arthur zooms in on the cleaner's uniform in the footage, and he sees her badge. And there it is, a tiny, almost unnoticeable mistake. A single misspelling. Musum instead of museum. The cleaner was an imposter. And suddenly he knows. Her height, her build, it's the journalist, Clara.
With that one little typo, everything just clicks into place. The weird question about the weight, the 5-second camera glitch, the fake uniform. Arthur finally understands not just who did it, but the real reason why. When they catch her, Clara confesses everything. She wasn't a journalist at all. She was a spy. She asked about the weight because she knew an old legend about the sculpture was actually true. It was hollow. She didn't care about the art. She wanted the secret hidden inside, a key to a safe that held government documents. This was never just a simple theft. It was an act of espionage. Arthur calls the police, and they find the empty sculpture and the key right in Claire's apartment. And just like that, the whole crazy mystery is solved. Arthur's no longer a suspect. He's the hero who unraveled an entire conspiracy.
Okay, so to really get how this whole mystery came together, let's quickly break down 3 words that were absolutely central to the plot. First up, restorer. This is what Arthur does for a living, right? His whole job is to take care of old objects. And that's exactly why his fingerprints were on the case in the first place. He wasn't committing a crime, he was just doing his job.
Next, we have hollow. This one physical detail, it was the entire reason for the crime. The fact that the sculpture was empty on the inside meant it could be used as a secret hiding place. The real target was never the art on the outside, but the empty space within. And finally, cleared. This is the happy ending for our guy Arthur. As soon as he figured out the truth, he was proven innocent, and his name was officially cleared of any wrongdoing. It's the resolution his sharp eye and attention to detail absolutely earned him.
You know, in the end, it was a quiet, unassuming art restorer who managed to bring a massive secret out of the city's shadow. Just by noticing one tiny detail that everyone else missed, he solved an impossible mystery and restored order, all because he was willing to look just a little bit closer.